A lot of Ghanaians wanted to leave, to go anywhere but Ghana. How come foreigners are seeing all the opportunities? A lot of people, maybe the goal of choosing that job is to make money, but not because I'm passionate about it. What is really developed? Is developed just highways and skyscrapers, or developed is how we engage in a society? Work ethics are different here. One of the most difficult for me was the classism. Whenever I say I'm married to a Ghanaian, the first thing they ask, where do you live? What does he do? Did you meet here? Does he have money? Is he working? You're already putting me in a class. And to me, I try not to get irritated, but I sometimes get irritated when I get asked this question.
The first time you ever perceived that you were going to be in Ghana, what was your thinking about the average Ghanaian?
This is a conversation for anyone looking to move to Ghana. In this conversation with Anahita, she shares her inspiring journey of moving to Ghana, the culture shocks and the joy. This episode gives insight on adapting to Ghanaian culture, overcoming challenges, and practical tips for anyone considering transitioning. Join us for this enlightening conversation.
There were a lot of YouTube videos that were showing Ghana in a very nice way. And I was telling him like, yeah, when I move there, we can rent a house with a pool, and then on weekends we can go to the beach. And he was like, Anna, it's not the reality of Ghana. Like, are you mentally ready? And there is zero education about Africa, minus, not even zero. You don't know anything about Africa. Ghana is hard. Like when people say Ghana is hard, they are not joking. It's not easy to survive here.
What does that mean? How are you doing, Anna?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And thanks for having me here.
You're absolutely welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to Connected Minds Studios.
Thank you.
How are you finding Ghana so far?
It's been good. I lived here for 5 years, so I think I'm past the honeymoon phase.
Past the honeymoon phase?
Yeah,
Okay.
because if you ask this question, like the first year I moved to Ghana, I'll be like, whoa, I love everything. Everything is just so sweet and nice. And now I feel like a lot of things are sweet and nice, and a lot of things are not sweet and nice. So I feel like I have a better judgment of the way things are here now. Actually, I love the way I look at Ghana now. Like, I think the way I used to look at Ghana was a lot of romanticizing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was the honeymoon phase like?
Honeymoon phase. The fruits were nice. The weather was nice. There was peacefulness, and those things, all of them are still there. Ghana has some of the best food, some of the best fruits, some of the best people, I would say. But there are other challenges that are in Ghana that maybe I'm more aware of them now. So, like, yeah, as I said, now I feel like I see Ghana more like real. Yeah.
So if we get right into it, right, what was the thought to move to Ghana?
I think it was never a plan for me to move to Ghana. I know a lot of people like really plan their move, but for me it was like the opposite. So my husband is Ghanaian, and we met in China. And I mean, from the day I met him, I knew eventually I have to travel to Ghana, but I just never thought I would live in Ghana because I'm from Iran, and Iran is a third world country, just like Ghana. And I was always thinking like, oh, like as someone coming from a developing country, I always want to move to somewhere that is already developed. So everything that I haven't had, I can achieve them abroad, basically. So I always had the idea that we would move somewhere else, or like, because we were both staying in China. And like, I thought we would always basically be somewhere. So in Ghana was never like...
What, more like an European country or an American country?
Yeah.
Maybe
like,
Australia somewhere?
Like how 90% of developing countries think.
Because in your mind, it's a better life, right?
Exactly.
It's an upgrade from a third world country. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I visited Ghana in 2017 during Christmas. No, it was during February. It was Chinese New Year when we came to Ghana to visit for the first time. And the whole itinerary that my husband made for me was just not the best. Like, it was a very hectic itinerary. It was like we went to Cape Coast. We saw like the dungeons. We saw all those terrible history. And it was just like a very heavy trip to me. I remember I cried half of the trip, thinking like how as human we can just not take responsibility over everything that has happened to Ghana. So it wasn't, I would say, a very like happy trip. It wasn't like 30 December kind of trip that we all party and every night is just having fun. It was more like a deep trip. And of course, I was seeing a lot of lacks that exist in my country as well. So I was like, okay, if I move to Ghana, it would be all over like Iran, right? I don't know, maybe some people would have the same mindset if they want to move to Iran. They would consider those things from Ghana. So anyways, in 2018, my husband made up his mind that he's coming back. He didn't want to stay in China any longer. And he came back. And at that point, I didn't want to follow him. I was like, no, because my life was good in China. I was enjoying my life. I was making good money. I was enjoying. I was traveling, and I just loved the way everything was. And when he moved, I don't know. I think I started seeing China more critically, like understanding what is really developed. What do we consider as developed? Is developed just like highways and skyscrapers, or developed is how we engage in a society? Like there was a time that I had high fever during the year that my husband was not in China. And I had high fever and like I really felt like I'm dying. And I was walking in the street and no one was even looking at me. Like everyone was just going fast. And I was thinking to myself, like, I can really die here and no one will care. And I feel like that's something that can never happen in Ghana. Like you cannot be unwell and walk in the street and people pass by you. So to me, this is development. When you care about others, is
that
development.
is so true. I was telling someone that Ghanaians are very kind people.
Yeah, yeah.
You go on the street and let's say you're driving and you get an accident. The number of people that will come to your aid to support you, in fact, they will come faster than the ambulance, or if your car is burning, they will come faster than the fire service will.
Yes, people will help you.
And if you have like occasions like birthday parties, funerals and stuff, they always come in to support.
Yes, yes, yes.
Very kind people.
Like there is a community.
Yes.
And it's not just a word community, it's actual community. And you know, by the end, when I had that fever, one of my husband's friends, who is Ghanaian, came to help me. He took me to hospital.
Wow.
Like, I'm just saying, like, I think that was one of the moments that I really started thinking, like, I don't know if I want to long-term live here. And a lot of values or things that I wanted in my life was not really happening there. And it got to a point that I felt like I need slow pace. Things are going too fast. And I'm just feeling like I'm running and I'm not getting anywhere. It's just running. But what am I running after? So the plan was just to leave China. That was the plan. But again, the plan was not move to Ghana because my husband has just moved back. He was also establishing himself. So he was also not a fan of me coming to, like, you know, he was not sure whether I understand the difficulties in Ghana. And back then I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and like there were a lot of YouTube videos that were showing Ghana in a very nice way. And I was telling him, like, yeah, when I move there, we can rent a house with a pool, and then on weekends we can go to the beach. And he was like, Anna, it's not the reality of Ghana. Like, are you mentally ready? And I thought I'm ready, to be honest, but I wasn't. I will tell you that. So but by the end, I decided I'm coming to visit him. Let me wait for a month or two and then see how things are going, and maybe we can decide from there where we want to go next. So I came to Ghana. We met, and shortly after, I found a job. Like shortly after, in a week. And it was by chance. Like we were sitting with some friends who were working with Chinese companies, and I speak Chinese. So they were like, oh, we are looking for a translator, actually. Do you want to work with us? I said, okay, sure. So I started working, and the job was good. because it consisted of a lot of traveling around Ghana. So
Okay.
I was like, I was seeing Ghana, in a short visit. I was seeing all over Ghana, from Tamale to Sonyani, everywhere. I was going to every place. So it was very nice. And then COVID happened.
Huh.
And then I was thinking, do I want to stay? And the company I was working was a Chinese company. So they were one of the first to get affected by COVID. So they laid me off instantly because I was a new employee and I had to do a whole training in China. So they knew it's not going to work. So we stopped. And that was the difficult decision, that do I want to stay in Ghana or do I want to go home? Because at that point, the COVID situation in Iran was really bad. Like we had 1,000+ deaths a day. And here it was like nothing has happened. People were walking in the street as if it's another sunny day. And to be honest, I enjoyed that more. I was feeling more safe. So COVID made me make that decision that maybe I wouldn't have taken the decision if not for COVID. So in a way, I'm happy that I came during that time. And then lockdown happened and then everything after. So by the time the lockdown was lifted, I was already well adjusted. So I didn't want to leave.
Right.
So it wasn't something I really planned. It happened organically, but I really enjoyed the decision.
Are you grateful
I'm
that you're here?
For the decision, for sure.
Right. But then you said that when you're speaking to your husband, he goes, are you mentally ready?
Yeah.
What were some of the readiness that he needed to prepare you for? Or what have you realized by yourself being here?
I mean, Ghana is hard. When people say Ghana is hard, they're not joking. Things are not easy. It's not easy to survive here.
What does that mean?
Certain countries, the government has already planned your life for you. Right. You can, let's say in my country, I'm not saying my country is better, I'm just saying because I don't want that misunderstanding, but I'm just saying, let's say in my country, education is free. Until university, everything is for free. So you are kind of forced to study, educate yourself and all that. But here, everything, you have to pay for it.
I mean, there are people who have free education on the government system.
Yeah,
right?
But the quality.
I guess so.
Yeah, if you want to have a good degree and all that,
then you need to take them to a private school and then pay for it.
Exactly.
I guess on that, you have that everywhere, right? Yeah. So even in the UK, the comprehensive schools may have a lower education standard than some of the top private schools. Mm-hmm. So maybe the money you have will determine the type of school and the quality of education that you have, right?
Okay. I don't know, but just my understanding is sometimes here you have to figure out everything yourself. How you're going to make money, how you're going to find jobs, who really teaches you how to do your CV, who teaches you how to find jobs. There's no I don't know. It's difficult.
Nothing is standardized, huh?
Yeah. So I feel like it's difficult to find or kind of navigate how to find your passion here, right? Because you have to be fast. You have to find out what you want to do. And I understand his concern at the time. What are you going to do? What kind of job are you going to do? I had no idea. I was just privileged or lucky that I could speak Chinese. At the time, I didn't realize it was even a thing because I learned Chinese because my degree was in Chinese. I had to learn Chinese. But when I got here, I realized, okay, it's coming to my benefit, to my advantage, I'm sorry. So yeah, you should really have a plan. And I feel like people kind of underestimate, and I underestimated the fact that you really need a plan. You really need to go and visit. You really, my visit in 2017 was a tourist, no, you cannot plan your life in 2 weeks of going around town. You have to at least come and go a few times, get adjusted to the behavior of people. Can you deal with it? It's different. Can you deal with it? The way the system works. Let's say I was always used to public transportation. All my life I've taken public transportation. I don't like driving. But here, when I first moved and I was working with a Chinese company, every day I was taking trotro. I'm like, okay, it's public transportation here. And the look I was getting at people, how dare you get into trotro? That was the idea that, I don't know, people had. And I felt like It's because the whole public transportation is not really public transportation. It's a private
Private, yes.
transportation, right? So all those things, those are adjustments. You just have to make sure you are ready for those adjustments. I feel like I was just not mentally aware. And especially where I come from, there is zero education about Africa. Minus, not even zero. Minus. Like you don't know anything about Africa. You just know Africa as a whole. I doubt everyone knows every country in Africa. Maybe they have heard through football or Olympics few countries, but it's not like they have an idea of what's going on in each country.
But that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because you married to a Ghanaian.
Yeah.
The first time you ever perceived that you were going to be in Ghana, what was your thinking about the average Ghanaian?
I had no idea. Zero idea. But I would say I didn't imagine like everything is going to be like comfortable. Like I don't know how to explain it, but I think I had a very negative idea about Africa. I didn't know what's going on.
Has it changed?
Of course. And I remember the very first months we were dating, he was reading an article. It was like 10 best cities to live in Africa. And he was just scrolling. And I remember a picture of Nairobi. And I was like, where is that? And he said, Kenya. I'm like, no, it's not Kenya. It's impossible that it's Kenya. And he was like, it's Kenya. Like, I couldn't even believe my eyes that, wow, like, what have they taught us? And sometimes I feel like I don't want to be like those conspiracy theory kind of people, but isn't it weird that we don't know? Like, how? How is that we don't know anything?
I think this is all part of the reasons why we're having this conversation, right? To send it out there so that a lot more people would know that there's greatness in Africa. And then also some of the content you're producing as well on your channel, to amplify some of the things. What Maya is doing fantastic as well. Della is doing great. I think this is why social media has come in to help, to support, so that we can basically blow our horn.
Yeah.
Because traditional media in the West are not going to do it for us.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but I'm just saying the effect on me as someone who had no like previous judgment. Like it wasn't something negative, I would say, but I also didn't have any idea,
right?
Any clue. And that was the reason I started everything. I started my channel, the reason I make content on Instagram, because I want my people to know, like, don't think there's nothing happening. There's a lot happening.
Are you trying to prove to maybe your friends and your family that I have a great life?
Not really.
Or is it a good place
I feel like
to
sometimes
stay?
I get misunderstood that way.
Right.
But it's more of like, don't you feel bad not knowing what's happening in a part of the world? Like everyone knows what is happening exactly in Europe today. When do they have their election? When each country, what is happening in each country? But no one knows what's happening, I don't know, in different parts of Africa, in different countries.
What's really interesting though is you are Iranian.
Yeah.
Your husband is Ghanaian.
Yeah.
You met in China.
Yeah, that's good.
Great. Right. It's fantastic. Right. Culture-wise, how are you guys blending it? Well, now you're living in Ghana, right?
I mean, we know each other for a long time. Okay. We met in 2013. So it's been almost 12 years. Yeah, so we know each other for a long time. So it's not as strong like the cultural shocks as before, but still, I'm being honest with you, up to now I get cultural shocks, and I'm sure he does too. The blend of cultures, I feel like both cultures value same things.
Okay.
Value family, value community, value friendships, value money. But I feel like there are huge differences in how we perceive it. Let's say, I would just give you an example. In Ghana, a lot of families, once they have children, they believe that once the children grow old, they are supposed to take care of them, right? Like, it's their responsibility. In Iran, it's the opposite. Like, until you as a child, you die, your parents can take care of you.
Right.
And it's their responsibility. They have to throw you the wedding. They have to buy you the house. They have to buy you the car. They have to find you the job. They have to make sure you go to the right school. It's their job. So all you have to do is to exist.
Which one do you prefer?
Middle. Somewhere middle.
Right.
I don't like that here too. Like, there's a lot of pressure on youth because they have to take care of their families before they can take care of themselves. And I also don't like the way it is in Iran that like you can always depend on your parents. So I feel like somewhere in between that, you know, you have the support of your parents, but you also make your personal effort. Yeah, a mixture of. So yeah, there are so many cultural differences.
Yeah.
And another big issue is that because we Iranians, we don't know much about Ghana, it's a very strange culture to us because we've never heard anything about it. So everything I learned about Ghanaian culture was new to me. So many instances, like daily life has been a lot of, there has been a lot of issues. Like if I give you instances of some of the arguments, let's say, we've had, which were culturally not because of us, was like, let's say I come from outside and I leave the food on the floor to go to wash my hand. And my husband would be like, why do we leave the food on the floor? We never put the food on the floor. You are disrespecting the person by doing that. But in my culture, it's not so. Or like the fact that in your culture, you have to say a lot of please, like good morning, good afternoon. When I first came, I wasn't greeting anyone because I don't know anyone. Why would I greet them? That's how it is in my culture, unless I know you. And that brought a lot of issues because like people who were around my workplace, like the ladies who were selling, I never greeted them because I never found it necessary to greet them. But that brought a lot of issues because they found me rude. And I understand now, I was rude by not greeting them. So now I say good morning, good afternoon, everywhere I go. So yeah, so many differences.
I guess that's the understanding of our culture. And to also know that, I mean, you're married to one.
Yeah.
So it will probably be a lot more peaceful to operate within the comfort of the Ghanaians, right?
Yeah.
Because this is where we are.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I mean, there are a few things that I even when I came from the UK, I had to relearn, because it's like you take a culture here, you travel abroad, and then it's like that culture to try to instill something else in you, and then when you come back, you have to.
It's not working here.
It's not working. Now you need to come back and pick up the old things again. So there's still a lot of work that even some of us are still doing. Even this good morning, hello, please. It's a conscious and intentionality. It takes that a lot for me to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather say how are you than please good morning.
Yeah.
So you know, it's yeah. But let's talk about finance.
Okay.
Financial planning. How important is it to have financial planning when you're coming into the country? And when you are here, what are some of the things that you can do?
I think another maybe misunderstanding about Africa as a whole is that things are cheap. I don't know about other parts of Africa, but I know Ghana is not cheap. It's a very expensive, Accra is a very expensive city. And you spend a lot on not on the best quality. Like the quality of things that you get is not aligned with how much you spend. The amount you spend on the rent is not necessarily what the house is worth. The amount that you pay for transportation is not necessarily the amount that the car is worth of. So it's like you are spending a lot of money to get an average life. So I think that's the misunderstanding that, or the mistake that a lot of people make, is that they think, oh, Africa is cheap. Let me just go and like, I'm sure I take my $100 and it's a lot of money there. Yes, maybe right now $100 is like, I don't know, 15 Ghana cities, like you get 1,005. But what can you do with 1,005? The country, everything is based on dollars. You are spending dollars. Yes, you have cedi in your hand, but you're spending dollars. Because when you convert, everything that you buy is the same thing that you buy outside Ghana. You spend same amount, right? Especially food. Food is very expensive here. So I feel like I wasn't aware of like how expensive it would get. So when I was living in China, I had a certain salary. And then when I came to Ghana and I started working with a Chinese company, I told you, I in the negotiation, I said I want the same amount I was making in China, right? And the math, like it wasn't adding.
Okay.
It was the same money I was making in China and I was feeling really comfortable, but I wasn't living comfortable here. Like before I know, my salary was gone. So I feel like you have to have a lot of money to be comfortable here. But the same comfort, maybe I'm just comparing to China that I have lived. It would have been easier. Let's say in China, when you rent a house, it comes with furniture. And you rent for 3 months. So you pay a deposit and then you pay the next 3 months. I feel like it's less pressure than paying everything, one, in dollars. A lot of houses are in dollars. And then you pay for the whole year, plus you pay a deposit. So to me, it's like much more expensive to get the same house that, let's say, we had in China. The house we had in China, like, let's say, it has security, water, electricity, Wi-Fi, everything included, plus the furniture. But here, plain house, nothing is there. You have to think of your own electricity. You have to think of your own water. You have to think of your own Wi-Fi. Plus, you're paying more. So I feel like the conversion was not really making sense to me. Or like the food. Food is quite expensive. Like in China, I wasn't cooking. Most of the time I was ordering outside food because I was working a lot too. But then here you can't. Unless you want to just burn your salary, you eat outside every day. Because first of all, like the quality of the food maybe is not always so great. One, maybe if you cook home, you will get a better quality. And plus you spend a lot of money. And Accra is like aesthetics. You go to like a place that they charge you like, I don't know, 1,000 cedi for sushi. And they use the same rice that is used for jollof that. So to me, it's like, maybe it's not even worth the money that you're spending, right? Like you're not experiencing something extraordinary. You're going there because it's a nice restaurant.
Right.
So yeah, those differences. That's why I say, when I say Ghana is hard, these are all the parts. And by that, I don't mean that Ghana is not sweet. Because if it wasn't sweet, I wasn't here today. But I feel like the struggles of it is never mentioned.
So what would you say to some of the people who are thinking of, I want to move to Ghana? It's 2025 now. Now, a lot of people have come and do that to December. And they are thinking, yeah, that 2 weeks was fantastic. I had a blast. Now I want to move to Ghana. What are you going to tell them?
I would first tell them that December is not Ghana. They live in a different world. Like when tourists come during December, they live in a different Ghana. The whole December, I could only go out once. With the work that I do, like most of the time you're working and you're busy, plus the expenses. It's very expensive to go out, right? So when they come here and they're bringing dollars and they're like every night going out and, the clubs close at 10 a.m. Yes, but it's only in December during that period. The rest of the year, everyone else is working and hustling, not only working. Like you have to find ways, to survive. So I feel like first I would tell them that December is not Ghana. Come another time. Come, I don't know, maybe April, June, that nothing is happening. And see Ghana for yourself. Bring what you can make and see how long you can live with it. If you think you can live with, I don't know, $1,000, come and bring $1,000 and see how long you can stay with that $1,000. Because I bet if you're coming from another country and you're used to certain lifestyle, you cannot live with that $1,000. You tell yourself, everyone is living with $100, $200. But you cannot, because you cannot live the life or sacrifice certain things the way majority of people do. People make sacrifice here.
In 2013, I came to Ghana.
Okay.
And when I was coming, I had 200 pounds.
Okay.
Only as the money that I was going to use. I didn't have the money, right? So when I came in, in fact, when I was coming, I thought, that was a lot. Because I knew someone that was coming with 100 pounds. So I said, 200 pounds, that's a lot of money. Changed the money, the exchange rate was in my favor. Got a lot of cash. Within about 6-7 hours, the money was gone. Meanwhile, I had booked a ticket for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh no.
And
you didn't come prepared.
I did not come prepared at all. As a matter of fact, that was my first trip coming back after I'd left. So I didn't know Ghana like that. And I had come to Accra. I didn't go back to the village. So 200 pounds may have been great in the village for 3 weeks, but you're in Accra.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Yeah, I think the especially when you first come, you spend a lot on certain things like rent, furniture. Furniture is not cheap, right? A lot of furniture here comes from China. So I know how cheap they are in China, but they add a lot of charges when it comes to Ghana. So let's say a dining table can be like 400 Ghana cedi can come here and be 4,000 Ghana cedi. It's the same quality, but you are spending a lot of money to have that quality. So I feel like the first year, it's very difficult to get yourself together. You know, the other part that I have to mention is that Ghana is a lot like about appearance. It's not a country that, I mean, you lived in UK. I once read the news that like the prime minister, he takes his dog for a walk every day. Can Nana Akufo take his dog out for a walk? I'm just saying, it just doesn't work here, right? You cannot, there is certain setting that you cannot do. Like you cannot be raw. You cannot be like, I don't care. The whole year, I don't want to buy anything new. I live, I don't know, far away and I don't care. People really judge you based on where you live, how you dress up, what car you drive. And I don't like it, but it is how it is. Can you change it as a foreigner coming here?
But when was the first time you experienced that people were judging you because of where you live, where you
The first
where
time
you
I
drive?
stepped in Trotro,
How did you know?
like everyone is looking at me like, and they look at each other like, you feel the vibe. And first day I was like, what's wrong with people is a public transportation. I got to the office and we had a meeting with other managers. And then one of the Ghanaian managers, he was like, oh, so how did you come? Was it easy for you to find? And I'm like, yeah, I took the Trotro, very easy. He's like, you got on the Trotro? You're a manager, you should. I'm like, what? So it was very difficult for me. I think one of the most difficult for me was the classism. That people really like, whenever I say I'm married to a Ghanaian person, the first thing they ask, where do you live? What does he do? So you're already like putting me in a class. You want to, and where did you meet? So they want to know first, did you meet here? Is it like a planned thing? Does he have money? Is he working? And to me, I try not to get irritated, but I sometimes get irritated when I get asked this question. You still haven't asked what his name, and you're asking what his job is, right? So I feel like these are what are important to people. Where do you live? What car you drive? How much you make?
When people ask you that, how does that make you feel?
I feel like it's my private life. I mean, if I know the person, or if I know the person didn't asked it in a mean way or a judgmental way, I don't mind saying it. But a lot of times it is the judgmental
So
way.
a lot of people are probably expecting that you're with some billionaire living in a yacht somewhere in Ghana.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
see.
if it's the opposite, then what is happening here?
Right.
Right? Like who is lying to who?
Gotcha.
Right?
That potentially may not be real love.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
So sometimes, yeah.
I wasn't really thinking about it like that. Even for some of us who are native Ghanaians, right? Sometimes you come out of your car and just by my height and what I'm wearing, they look at me and they're like, nah. I've had people say that that's your uncle's car.
Oh, wow.
That's your dad's car.
They don't believe it can
They
be
simply
yours.
can't believe, no. Because they expect, you're right. Like we are so visual, right? They expect you're coming out with a big belly, some serious kaftan, with a bodyguard. It's crazy. But it's all part of the culture, it's all part of who we are.
And, I've seen a lot of people that actually like have to do that just to get certain opportunities.
They don't have the money.
They don't have it, but they have to, right? You have to make this image of yourself.
Fake it till you make it. It's so big here.
You have to, I mean.
Yesterday, I posted it on Twitter that this fake it till you make it lifestyle is killing the integrity of a lot of Ghanaian men, especially.
Yeah.
Because they are showing what they don't have and when they actually need it, people are not helping them
Yeah.
because you put a face that you have it,
Exactly.
you know.
And you know, but when I was working with a Chinese company, my boss, he was Chinese and he was a millionaire. He had a lot of money. The guy was always wearing the same short and t-shirt. Same. He was never changing the shorts and t-shirt. Red. Always. And I was thinking like,
What is it? Wealth is not loud. You know, it's the poor and the middle class that love to show.
yeah, sadly.
The wealthy people, they keep it cool, keep it simple,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, okay. You come to Ghana, no financial planning, in your case, personally. You had a job, right? And then you lost the job because of COVID.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any business at the moment?
No.
Or do you have a job
So
at the
I
moment?
had a saving.
How are you surviving?
I saved for a long time in China,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
I'm good with saving. That's what I can say. So I saved money, but it wasn't a very wise way of using your money. Like you save and then you blow everything, then what was the point of saving? So it wasn't very smart, but I was using that. And then I found another job in a few months with a different company. So the first company, I mean, it was different, but again, I worked with Chinese. But this time it was like a bigger role, I would say. Like it was more management level. So I stayed in that company for 2 years. And at some point I decided I can't take it anymore. I mean, I worked with Chinese in China. It's a different scenario working with Chinese in China and working with Chinese in Ghana.
Right.
It's not the easiest thing. I feel like, I don't know with other international companies, but I feel like there's a lot of cultural differences, work ethic differences in the work environment. So it wasn't very easy. It wasn't an easy job at all. And yeah, at some point I was thinking that I'm super stressed. I wasn't enjoying my life at all. I was constantly stressed because I was kind of put between the Chinese and the Ghanaians. Like I was kind of connecting them. And there was so much cultural differences. And I was understanding both, but they weren't understanding each other. So all the pressure was always on me. You know, like let's say my boss tells me, okay, so this person came 2 minutes late, deduct 50 cedi from his salary. And come on, like you cannot do that in Ghana. They do it in China. You cannot get there even 2 minutes late. But you cannot do that in Ghana. Because what if truck drivers decided not to come to work that day? Or what if there was an accident on the way? Things are not in your control, right? Like I'm sure when you were in UK, anytime you were taking a bus, it was like writing how many minutes the bus will arrive, when will you arrive. So you can really
And in
plan
most cases, it showed up.
Yeah. But in Ghana, it's not possible. You hope that you get there on time, but you might not get there. So it was difficult. And then I quit my job. I started my own business, which is digital marketing. So I always had passion for creating content. And then when I started creating content on my YouTube, some people that I interviewed, because I interviewed a lot of like business people, like I was more interested in learning about businesses. And they would always be like, oh, wow, your content is great. We don't have anyone to manage our content. Like we know we are doing a good job, but we don't have any content on our social media. So one of the people that I interviewed, I just, like, it was the day that I wanted to quit my job. And I was like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's okay. So I asked her if they are looking for any social media managers. She's like, yeah. She was actually talking about it to someone that day. So the moment I knew I have it, I left it. I left the job and I didn't tell my husband.
I see.
Because he was so against it. He was like, no, you have stability. In Ghana, it doesn't work that way. You just don't quit your job to follow your passion. I understand. He's very logical. He's a logical man. And he was right. Like everything he has told me, from not move to Ghana without a plan to not quit your job without a plan, it all makes sense. But I think I was just lucky, I would say, that things worked out. So once I quit, I started my own company. I mean, it wasn't a company at first. It was just like I was doing content for others. And then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, Now it's a company.
Wow. I can assure you that I have, in fact, even today I had this conversation with someone who wants to move to Ghana. And the question was very simple. How much do I need to be able to survive on? Right? How much do I need to bring in to be able to survive in Ghana? Like, what sort of monthly expense? Even today, I spoke to someone about that.
But it's not the monthly expense that is your problem. It's the investment that you bring with yourself. Like where is your rent money? Where is your car money? You cannot take Uber every day. You have to have a car. You have to have a place to stay. You have those investments to bring to Ghana. Because I feel like in a lot of countries, maybe you can just go with a plan of how much money you need for a month and you survive on that. But here you have to have an investment first, then you can decide however you want to survive. However you want to survive is up to you. Because you can eat Indomie every day and you can survive. Like, it's not a problem. Survival is not a problem in Ghana. These big chunks of money that is taken from you every year, rent, car, fuel is expensive in Ghana. I mean, I don't know, maybe coming from Iran, we have oil, it's cheap. But here it's very expensive. You know, fuel is like 50 cents in Iran.
Really?
And
Wow.
here is like 15 Ghana cedis.
Wow.
15 I'm saying 15 cents, 15 pesos.
I
Like not
see.
even up to a cedi. I think that it's, just know that there is no amount that is going to be enough. You cannot say, oh, if you bring, I don't know, $10,000, you're going to feel free. You don't need anything else in Ghana. Because then you have to live like someone who makes $10,000. And then you enter another level of Ghana. There's no ending to that, right? So I don't feel like there's any amount that is enough. But if you really come and stay for a month, you really can see how you live in Ghana. Because there are different ways of living in Ghana. I know people that, like foreigners, that live in a different Ghana. They don't live in a Ghana that Ghanaians are living. And there are foreigners that are really hustling. So it's really about how you want to live in Ghana.
Is it possible, right, to not come to Ghana with a business, an investment, and come in to hustle and make it work here? Is it possible? Do you think it's possible?
Not without a plan, no. Like, don't look at, I don't think I'm a right example because I really believe I got lucky. I really believe that if I hadn't met the right people at the beginning of my stay, if I hadn't started working with Chinese and make some constant salary that I can at least not think about money for a few months and think what business I can do, I couldn't have survived. Imagine you bring an investment and you don't know what business you are going to do. Before you know what business you want to do, your investment is gone. You spent everything, right? And it's about you staying, you understand in the business that you're going, whom to trust, whom not to trust, what kind of people you have to work with. These are all like, these are costly. So
If you were to do it again, same man, same awesome man, same conditions. However, this time you're going to listen. What would you have done differently?
yeah, I would have come for a few months first.
Okay.
I would have really planned the kind of business I want to do. I would have networked more. And this is an advice someone gave me before I quit my job. She told me not to quit your job, network best. Know that you know the right people in your industry before you quit your job. So that when you call them and say, I quit my job, there's something for you. Yeah, I think that's important to network with the right people. If you want to start a restaurant in Ghana and you don't know other restaurant owner, you will close in 6 months. Because all the restaurant owners know each other here. Because you have to have a network to know what's working, what's not working, how are the laws changing. You need the network. You cannot do it alone. So,
Do you know what makes it difficult? So, when you're a big YouTuber, for example, and a small YouTuber is trying to get on your channel, you know how difficult it is, right? Very difficult.
I know.
Okay. Now, the same thing. Imagine today you are trying to get into the oil business where it's heavily cartelled, but you have a bit of money.
Yeah.
But because you haven't started yet, you can imagine how difficult that is going to be, right?
I agree, but that's how it's going to be even when you move. So if you don't hack it, if you don't know how to approach people, right? Like I feel like not with my business, but I feel like, let's say with my YouTube, I feel like at the beginning my approach was like very raw. Like, oh my gosh, I love your content. And the person would be like, I don't know your channel. Are you a YouTuber? I don't even know you. You know? So I feel like these are the things that you learn in Ghana: how to approach people, how to present yourself, how to introduce what you can do to them. Because, I mean, let's be honest, no one wants to just help you for no reason. They have to realize what you can do for them as well. So if you go raw and like, oh, I'm coming to Ghana and I really want to know what business I can do, can you help me? There's no one who's going to help you. But if you come and say, okay, I want to open I don't know, a Chinese noodle shop in Ghana. Can you help me? How do I start? Which part of Ghana should I, or which part of Accra should I start my business? Then people will think, oh, yeah, I always thought this business is good. Let me see what I can get from this. When you don't know what you want and you want someone to decide for you here, that's when you get no connection here. You should know what you want. Yeah.
I guess knowing what you want is part of the success process.
Yeah.
Because if you eliminate that, then what are you looking for?
Exactly.
You know, nothing. Anything that comes your way, you take it.
Yeah.
Right. But I think you've done okay, really well, navigating. And because a lot of the people I speak with, they come in here, some of them may not have a plan, but they always are looking for opportunities to go into business rather than employment in the beginning. But then you went in employment
Yeah,
first.
but they want someone else to define the business for them. I think that's what a lot of people think. I feel like, let's say, everyone is thinking about what is that business that they can make a lot of money.
Yes.
But who's thinking, what is the business that I can do the best? Right? I'm not trying to come out like arrogant or like I'm the best, but I really think I can make a content go viral. I really think I can make a quality content, right? So when I know there's a business that is struggling to tell people this is what we have and no one is buying it, I know I can tell people to come and buy it. I know what to tell people. Maybe I don't do it well for myself because it's always more difficult to do that for yourself than others because you see others from outside. So these are your strong point. These are not your strong point. This is how you should improve your Instagram or your YouTube or whatever. So it's easier for me to see your channel and tell you what things you can improve, but it's difficult to.
I've never thought about it that way.
Okay.
Never. It's so clever. That's why I was so quiet listening to you.
Okay.
Because you're right. It's so easy to improve somebody else's life or whatever it is that they are doing than to actually apply those things to yourself. That's why a lot of people don't take the advice.
Yeah. So when I wanted to start my business, I exactly knew this is the business I want to do because I know I can do that for others. I know I can help a business change in Ghana. I know I can evolve a business. So why can't I? Why wouldn't I start? And that was the idea. Like every day spending time in my 9 to 5, I was like, I'm just wasting my time doing something for someone that by the end, I know is not going to help anyone here, right? Like a lot of international companies, they come, they make their profit, they leave. You're not doing anything to Ghana. So that was another issue I had. I was like, if I live here, let's say 50 years, I look back and I've done what in Ghana? But now I'm confident, at least I'm doing something in Ghana. You know, I'm making job for someone. I'm helping someone to see things from a different perspective. Even if it's small, I don't think I'm changing Ghana, but I'm not like the next revolutionist of Ghana. But I'm just saying that at least I'm putting my very small impact. And that's very satisfying.
That's beautiful to hear. I'm sure my viewers are going to be like, oh, no, that was a beautiful statement. Because this is what we want. We want people to come in and feel like they can contribute to what is going on in this country. And that any part of Africa that people get a chance to spend time in, if they do enough work, in 20 to 30 years, it should be better than they came to meet it.
Exactly.
You know, And I think you're doing great. And the stories you're telling of people on your channel, I think you're telling it very well
Thank
in
you.
a documentary style.
I think sometimes it gets misunderstood. And that's maybe my biggest challenge with my personal channel. Because the whole idea that I started this series is called Ghana, My New Home. I did like 2 seasons. We are now on season 2. The whole idea is that I started meeting a lot of foreigners in Ghana. And I realized that their whole mindset is different from the mindset of people here. A lot of Ghanaians wanted to leave, to run away, to go anywhere but Ghana. And a lot of people were like calling their cousins and their brothers, come to Ghana, there's opportunity here. And I was always like wondering, like, how come like the foreigners are seeing all the opportunities and the people themselves are not seeing the opportunity? Everyone is leaving. So when everyone leaves, everyone with great minds, smart people leave, who's going to replace them? There's still going to be shops opening every day, businesses opening every day. Then it's not going to be Ghanaian owned. Everyone is complaining about why everything is foreign owned. But why are so many foreigners moving? And why, whenever you pass by Canadian embassy or American embassy, there are so many people in queue? That was my question that I started. So in my head, I was thinking, okay, if I show an example of someone who has moved here and made a business and someone watches it, maybe the person has never thought this could be possible in Ghana, and now they can see it. So my target audience is not to, like, a lot of people write for me like, oh, you are trying to whitewash people, or you are trying to say that Ghanaians are not doing as well as foreigners. But honestly, that's not my intention. My intention is to show people that it is possible. Because when I was living in Iran, trust me, I was the same. Like, I just wanted to leave Iran. I just couldn't tolerate anything, right? Everything, even the weather was too annoying to me at some point. And I sometimes think if I had seen people who have successfully done something in my country, there was no way I would have done so much effort to apply for this embassy, the other embassy, talk to this person. How can I go this school? Let me write the admission letter. You know, if I had examples, and I feel like I'm just recording the examples of things that can happen in Ghana. It doesn't need to be big. You don't need to have like $1 billion investment or a company here, but you can have something that you look back at it and you're proud of yourself. You know, I'm happy I stayed in Ghana.
I'm glad you're happy you stayed. You know, you've joined the train of people who are changing the narrative about Ghana and many parts of Africa. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Now, in the process though, what have you learned?
The process of
creating content with people who have, you know, gone through Ghana, the system.
That is not as easy as you think. I feel like I kind of underestimated the difficulty. And sometimes you feel like, oh, like no one has done it. It's like, I'm so smart that I'm doing it now. And then you realize why no one has done it, right? Because it's difficult, right? Like you didn't just appear from another world and you're coming to save everyone. It's difficult, right? Right. When I came and I saw, like, sorry to say, but like terrible customer service in some aspects. Like some businesses have very bad or customer service. At first I was like, oh, why don't they just train their staff? But the more you go is not just training. You cannot change everybody. You cannot change everyone's mindset, you know? That I feel like, yeah, I underestimated the difficulties. And there are so many challenges in working with someone. Work ethics are different here. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's different. So it's difficult too.
It's certainly difficult. If you've made it this far, you know I love my comments, right? You made it this far, leave a comment and let me know what you think about this conversation. I really wanted to understand, you know, what she's really doing here and if she has the mental fortitude to stay. It's all come out. She certainly does. So if you're thinking of getting yourself a ticket to travel out of the country, we're telling you that if you have the ability to be a champion, you can be a champion wherever you are. And this is your land. So let's stay and build. So now in terms of the work ethics of the average Ghanaian, what have you discovered that is not exactly on the right path and that needs to change?
I don't think there is right or wrong. I just feel like what is leaving a good result or not so good result. And I feel like if you're doing something that is not leaving you good result, then you should think about what is causing it.
That's right.
I feel like, when I was working with a Chinese company, I realized a few things about how people were viewing their job. So the job was mostly where I make money, right? Not a place that I fulfill myself, that I feel important, that I feel that I left an impact, that if I wasn't in this company, none of this would have happened. It's more of like, okay, I have to go to do the job. I have to come home. Now another day of doing the job. Economy is hard, And I feel like a lot of people, maybe the goal of choosing that job is to make money, but not because I'm passionate about it, right? And I'm sure it happens to you. Like you go to a shop and the person is like asleep. And then you wake them up and they're like, what? Like, what do you want
It
from
happened
me?
in my company.
How did that happen?
You go there, you check the camera and someone is sleeping and you call the office line several times, they don't pick up. And then sometimes I have some mystery shoppers who call me and say, Derek, I went to the shop today and she was sleeping. He was sleeping. It happens all the time.
Yeah, so sometimes I feel like if that person was really passionate about this job,
They will not be sleeping.
yeah, like what makes you sleep?
I think you hit the nail right on the head, right? People don't think that they can make any impact at a job place and they only go there for the money. It's simply about the money.
Yeah.
And that if they thought of adding any value, then they will work a little bit harder and more diligently than they currently do. You're right. But then also, there are so many things. There are people who, Charlie, in the morning, they come, some serious bankun they've had before coming to work. It's a load of carbohydrates. They sit there and they can't do much.
Yeah, but I don't know. To me, it's like when you work because of money, at some point you get tired. No matter how much they pay you.
That's true.
It's not fulfilling. Money is not fulfilling. If money was fulfilling, countries wouldn't have invaded each other, right? The reason there is war, because people want more. It's never going to be enough. So if what is moving you is how much you make, at some point you're going to get tired of it. And you go to your boss and you're like, oh, the money is not enough. You have to add some. And he doesn't do it, then you're more unfulfilled. But imagine if it's a job that you view it as, let's say you're a waiter, right? Because it happens a lot to me that I go to a restaurant and the waiter just throws the menu at me, right? And the person doesn't like their job. But if you really look at it, it's a great way for me to understand customer service. It's a great way for me to understand people's ethics, how to deal with different people, how to get a tip. Why do I have to tip you if you're being rude, right? So I feel like because the person's focus is on how much I make, definitely the person is not making a lot, right? So it's unfulfilling. So I feel like because of that, a lot of decisions that the person makes is like your staff that is working. But see, I've noticed that with you, you're very passionate about what you're doing.
Yes.
If you were not passionate and if it was only money that was driving you to have this channel,
I would have stopped.
Long time ago, right? But of course, money is important. And of course, you're not doing a charity, you need money. But it's not what pushing you. And I can see it with your work. And I feel like a lot of people lack that. And yeah, so it has happened a lot. In a lot of cases that, let's say the person, let me give you an instance. The company I used to work with, when I first started working with them, their headquarters was outside Accra. And I didn't want to leave Accra. So they wanted to establish an office in Accra. So basically, there was one secretary that was staying in their Accra office. so that every meeting or every time someone drops a parcel or something, there is an office in Accra. So the secretary was supposed to be there every week, and then once a week we had the meeting. So I moved to this office. And then the very first day I arrived to the office, it was Monday, I think, and our meetings were on Wednesday. The door was locked. And I'm like, okay, there's no one here. So I called the girl. She's like, oh, I'm just buying food. I'm coming. So it took like long time, like maybe 45 minutes for her to come. She came, open, and then the next day, I went there and it was locked. And I'm like, where are you? I'm buying food. I'm coming. And this time it took, but I was hearing the market, like the sound of market. I'm like, where are you? Are you really like 30 minutes away? Like, no, I'm coming. It took like an hour for her to come. And then what I realized through my work there, that she only comes on Wednesdays. That she feels like, oh, who's coming? Like maybe once in a while someone comes to drop a parcel, they can call me. But you are getting paid for the month. How can you not feel bad about person who has invested their money in this business? You know, because I feel like Ghanaians are very religious people. How do you go to church and pray when you basically stole someone? Because to me, stealing someone's time or someone's resources is the same as stealing someone's money, right? So I don't know. I feel like there has been so many instances that you feel like because the money is valuable, and mind you that in that office, we had free Wi-Fi, we had AC. So I always thought if she really thinks she's bored and there's not much to do, you have free Wi-Fi.
Learn something.
Like the whole day, from morning to evening, she was on TikTok. She was scrolling. And I was just thinking to myself, it's free. You don't pay for electricity, water, nothing. And she was living close by, so she just had to walk. So you don't pay for transportation, you don't pay electricity, you don't pay water, you don't pay anything. And you can learn something too. You have so much free time. It's a dream job, isn't it? But because the person is looking at the salary they're making, it's not so dream job anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not making enough. What's the point of me coming every day? I don't know. Sometimes I get really. I think these are the frustrating parts of living in Ghana.
And we all go through it. We face these things all the time. I've got, in total, I probably have in Ghana alone, I think I have about 16 to 17 employees.
Wow.
Yes.
You've done really well.
So you can imagine, and out of those people, I've sacked about 20 since I started. But it's usually about little things here and there, work ethics. Okay, you've come for a job interview, for example. You came in on a Friday. You're supposed to start work on a Monday, and then 9 o'clock you're not at work. 10, 11, 12 you're not there, and then you call, and then the reason why you're not at work is because you're doing your hair.
Oh, someone said that.
Yes.
But have you noticed no one is ever late at an interview, job interview? Because I was doing their recruiting. I interviewed like plus 100 people. No one was ever 1 minute late.
But when you give them the job?
The first day, always late.
Yes.
So it's what is important to you, right? The priority is money. So now you get your salary. You have signed the contract. They're going to pay you anyways. So whether you're 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late,
It's
and
crazy.
that's a very difficult lesson I learned in China, because the very first day I started my school, my class was starting at 8 a.m. So I got there at 8 a.m. And my teacher put me as absent. And she said, you had to be here 7:50. 8 a.m.
That's it.
is when I start teaching, not when you enter.
That's it. And time is such a valuable resource if we learn how to use it properly.
Very true.
But I think a lot of people, they don't pay attention to that. And for me, if we have appointments and you're late here and there, you're not respecting me enough. So very soon, that connection is going to be cut because you're showing your true self. If you don't respect yourself, it's okay. But if it eats into me as well, which is my time, I have to let you go.
But what makes you keep an employee? What is that one thing that when an employee does, you don't ever want to let go of them?
Thinking on their feet.
Okay.
That is always it for me. Somebody who can be proactive. and think that this is what needs doing, so I get it done. Yes. In fact, I think there was a guest I had, Obendako, and after the conversation, he asked me the same thing. Look, when somebody's using their mind, their brain to work, I find joy in that person. But robotic stuff, I don't like it. You're working because of the money. You're just doing things robotically.
Yeah.
No thinking behind it.
True.
Yeah.
And for me, it's reliability. I can rely on you. All my clients, they had someone who was helping them with the content before me.
Right.
All of them. And all of them had the same issue, that they couldn't rely on the person. Like, let's say it's Monday and they are waiting for the content, and there is, the lights went off, this happened, we have to reshoot, and I'm not saying I'm the most reliable, but I'm just saying because that's what is my vision, to be reliable. If I tell you I come here on this day,
you show up.
Yes. And you texted me this morning.
Yes.
But
it was a test.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I can just imagine a lot of people didn't show up.
Yeah. But I mean, there's been people who have showed up at ridiculous times, but but it is what it is. Reliable, huh? I'm waiting for a designer, and the creative people are probably the worst. Yeah. To create a design for us to use for something crazy that we are thinking about. Pay the deposit. Half of the money's been paid. It's been 5 days, and the dude is not picking up phone calls. Meanwhile, the deadline he gave has passed. But these are the things this is the mindset that needs to change for success to find people. But they don't understand. They think that you can just come into money and then all of a sudden you become time conscious. All of a sudden you start thinking properly. It doesn't work like that. You must be intentional about these things.
And that's how foreigners snatch some of the jobs. Because if you find out there is a foreign designer here in Ghana who is charging you same amount, but you've heard from everyone that they're doing it right on time,
I'll pay for that person. I'll pay the money.
Yeah, and then your money is going outside Ghana.
Yes.
It's sad. It's very sad, but this is what is happening.
Yeah, and even when we started this podcast, it was being edited in Ghana. But they were terrible at growth, terrible at thinking outside the box of what you need and delivering on time. Even when I had provided a studio for them to edit in, I had troubles with them. So I had to take it out. And we've seen growth since we took it out. And I'm going to throw that challenge at some point in this journey, that anyone that thinks that they can be reliable enough to take that job on, I'll give it to them.
Yeah. And reliable doesn't always mean good. It doesn't mean that you should find the best editor in Ghana, but someone who says Monday, 8 a.m., I will give you your video,
yes.
And you don't have to check with him again.
Yeah.
You don't have to text the person.
Yeah.
8 a.m., you have your video.
Because they have enough self-respect for themselves.
Yeah.
But hey, this is such a lovely conversation. It can go on and on. We could do 5 hours.
Yes.
Such a lovely conversation.
Your viewers need to sleep.
So I give you a camera there.
Okay.
And then if you have anything to say to my audience, that's your camera.
Last thing, it would be just that I think anything in Ghana is possible. Any business is possible. There is a sea of opportunities, because if you go anywhere, like let's say developed countries, you have to compete with a lot of people. But Ghana has a lot of opportunities, undiscovered opportunities that you can take advantage of. And you can really grow within this space if you only want to. It's also the motive and what would satisfy you in life. But I just hope that you find passion in growing Ghana. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to be
Hey,
here.
Anna, I'll put your channel in the description so that my people can find you, because I think some of the content you have is amazing.
Thank you so
There's
much.
one particular one that made me, reach out to you. I thought that you did that pretty well.
Thank you so much.
And if, again, you made it this far, thank you so much. And leave a comment below. I know some of the things we spoke about, you may be thinking to yourself, that was a bit too much. And, there's more coming, maybe. We need to have a complete mindset shift. While we're changing leadership, we must change the people. It must go hand in hand. And we must all be aligned with exactly what the dream of the continent is, which is to be better, right? So, and I think we need to see that in ourselves, that We are people that want to be better. We want to grow. We want to improve. We want to develop, as a nation and as a continent. And these are the things we need to put in place. And these are the things we need to straighten and fix. Well, my name is Derek Abaite. If I carry on, it's probably going to be very heated. So I'd like to stop here. But subscribe, let the notification bell ring anytime we release so you can have it. Stay connected. 2025, we're here.